Stoudemire's also going to join us. Check it out. Should be a good show. Undisputed is coming up right after us here, 9:30 sharp. The lovely Jen Hale. What will you guys be talking about today? Good morning.
Good morning, Jenna. Coming up on Undisputed today, is there already tension brewing between LeBron and Frank Vogel? Plus, could Kawhi's stay with the Clippers be a short one, as in 2 years short? Also, we've got Steven Jackson and Rob Parker in studio with us. Undisputed, coming up after First Things First. Jenna, back to y'all.
All right, Jen, thanks. I like the accent. Time for us to go viral.
Now as far as equal pay around here, that happened to be another show.
Jenna,
he's talking about Nick. I'm not talking about you.
He's not talking about you, Jenna. He's talking.
Let's make sure America knows that.
No.
On to Kawhi Leonard now. The
we got one Hall of Famer.
Finals MVP is reportedly, but he's a Hall of Fame at Syracuse.
Thank you.
Has reportedly signed a 3-year deal worth $103 million with the Clippers. Turned a couple of heads who assumed he'd signed for 4 years. The last year of the deal is a player option. So that means that in 2021, Kawhi could be a free agent again if he so chooses. It also means that his contract now matches up with that of new teammate Paul George. See, what does this tell you about Kawhi Leonard's future?
Kawhi is taking full control of everything that he's earned as a 8-year tenured player in the NBA. Your next goal off the court will be able to get to year number 10 and be free, so that you can maximize your overall earning potential. Also, when you're in negotiation, if you have the upper hand, if you happen to be able to put the gun to the other person, why ever give that away? Why ever take it away? Learn from some other players, because very seldom are you going to be able to have this throughout your whole career. Kawhi has that leverage now. Why would he surrender it? It becomes very important that the Clippers continue to do all the things they promised Kawhi and his team that they would do, continue to stay healthy, Paul George's health, other players on that roster, and he also has the ability to be able to recruit, to let guys know there's another destination in Los Angeles, and it is the Clippers. Because don't be fooled by the short-term contract, thinking that he doesn't want to be with the Clippers the rest of his career. He does. But he's got the maximum amount of leverage. If they decide to do other things, go in a different direction, have an unusual amount of injuries, then he can change that in a couple years.
Or if they, and I don't think they will, but they obviously made Kawhi a lot of promises about load management, about training staff, about how he'll be treated, about the people around him. But those things are very rarely put in writing. Those are, we talk, we negotiate, we shake on it.
Yeah, you can't put those things in the contract.
Exactly right. They could be salary cap violations or whatever it was. And LeBron saw, as you brought up earlier, that he thought he had an agreement with Pat Riley and the Miami Heat about certain things, signs a 4-year contract there, and some of those commitments were not kept. Some of those agreements
What you talking about, Willis?
Right, exactly right. And he had no wiggle room there. LeBron learned from that, went back to Cleveland, signed a 1-year deal, signed another 1-year deal, then won a title, signed a 2-year deal, and immediately when that happened, guess what happened? The 1 year he didn't have leverage. They don't bring back David Griffin. They all of a sudden, they trade Kyrie Irving. So
all of a sudden, I'm afraid of the luxury tax.
Right, and so Kawhi, yes, part of it is hitting free agency after year 10 where you can get 35% of the cap instead of 30% of the cap. That matters. But the other part of it is, listen, Clippers, I trust you. But what trust then verify, or verify then whatever it is, that I trust you, but let's just make sure we're all on the same page. And the Clippers now know that he and Paul George, while they expect them both to be there long into the future, that if either one of them or both of them were to walk in 2021 in a free agency class with Giannis, potentially with LeBron, potentially with Blake Griffin, Bradley Beal, great free agency class, the Clippers would be in a position where, oh my God, we don't have our own picks for 2024, 23, 25, 22 through 26. Those 5 years. What do we do? So the Clippers will not be worried about the tax. They will keep their word in this regard. And you mentioned the injury component. Kawhi is taking a risk here. Now, he might not look at it as a risk, but he could have, despite dealing with the injury in San Antonio, he has now left tens of millions of guaranteed dollars.
He didn't go the John Wall route. He
Right.
didn't go to the Dame route. He didn't want the long-term stability. He's going to bank on himself staying healthy and being able to cash in.
And maybe, listen, that could blow up on him. I don't think it will, but it's not like Kawhi is getting this risk-free. He could have had a 4th year guaranteed on that deal. He chose not to have it. So it makes sense why he's doing it. And for the top 10, 12 players in the league, if you're not approaching the end of your career and you're not worried about injury, then this is the way to keep leverage. This is the way to make sure the team is as committed to winning and to you as you are to them.
And it'd be pretty cool with him and Paul George having very similar stories from high school, them not being elite talents in high school, not offered the big scholarship. Paul goes to Fresno. We know about Kawhi going to San Diego State. They're both about an hour and a half outside of Los Angeles, one to the north, another one to the south and to the west. But imagine them going along their career. Both of them have made themselves into great NBA players. Both of them in the top 2 or 3 on both ends of the court. So they appreciate another great defender. Just imagine if Kawhi had someone like Paul George, that he could, those minutes on Giannis, that he could switch off because it affects your offense when you have to play that type of defense. But just imagine their careers going on together. Paul George being 1 year older than Kawhi. They can do this, and they can send a message to the rest of the league because the Clippers can't build any other way but free agency with keeping these 2 stars. Kawhi's a great recruiter. Paul told us that. He's very convincing as a quiet guy. So, man, their careers going on together, they don't have to be the little brother there in Los Angeles anymore.
All right, let's move on to LeBron and the Lakers. Last week, it was reported that LeBron would be the team's de facto point guard next season. From there, you got a number of potential Laker lineups for this team that were thrown around. This was all before we heard from the head coach. Well, yesterday at Summer League play, we heard from the head coach. Frank Vogel was asked about his team's lineup, and this is what he had to say.
There's no decisions made on our starting lineup. No imminent plan to start LeBron at the point guard spot. A lot of different lineups and combinations have been discussed, but it's really way too early for any of that. He'll be a primary ball handler in our system the same way he has been his entire career, but we're certainly not going to ask him to do anything that he hasn't done his entire career. So, you know, it's going to be a situation of just putting all our guys in the best position to have success on the basketball court, and looking forward for it all to take place at the right time.
All right, Nick, what do you think? Do you think LeBron should just be the starting point guard on this team next year?
Listen, he's going to play point guard the vast majority of the minutes he's on the court, whether he's the named starting point guard or not. The reason you name him the starting point guard is because if you don't, either Rondo, Cook, or Caruso would have to start. Those are the 3 other point guards on your roster. The worst player there for the Lakers fit, I believe, to be Rondo. But he's also the most established. He's the highest paid of the 3, and he's the most veteran of the 3. He's the only one that's won a champion, that's been a main component of a championship team. And having Alex Caruso or Quinn Cook start over Rajon Rondo might immediately create some issues in the locker room. So you start LeBron at point guard, you remove that from the discussion. But they do have other potential lineup issues, and that is, you know, Anthony Davis is starting. I would start Anthony Davis at center, but he doesn't want to start at center. When I talked when we were in Cleveland about the best lineup possible, which is LeBron, Danny Green, Kyle Kuzma, someone else, probably Avery Bradley and Anthony Davis, I had someone reach out to me immediately and say, Anthony Davis is not going to start the year as the center. You can say he should. It's not going to happen, and this is someone that would know. And so if he's not going to start at center, LeBron's your point guard, either JaVale or Boogie is your starting center, you know Danny Green's starting, there's only 1 spot left. And that last spot, you give it to Kuz, fine. Who's guarding the other team's point guards? It's not going to be LeBron. It's not going to be Kuz. It's not going to be one of your big men. So it doesn't all fit together perfectly. But LeBron's starting at point guard, so you don't have to have Rondo start or one of those other players that isn't a championship caliber starting point guard makes sense. But those other decisions for Frank Vogel are going to be the hardest ones.
How much of all of this matters? How much does it matter if you have to assign specific people, specific positions? Aren't we sort of moving towards position-less gameplay?
Yeah, the game is, but they're not robots. So you have human experiences with them. Rondo has been a starter, has been a champion. His resume is better than those other guys. Now, Quinn Cook, can he have some of that responsibility? Is he a better offensive player? Yes, but the responsibility he's never had. Boogie Cousins, at full strength, is an all-star. So you can have positionless, yeah, we're getting to that in the NBA, but you got to start from somewhere. And typically, you're going to have a point guard, you're going to have a scoring guard, you're going to have a scoring forward, a bigger forward, and a center based on competition. Because this is what I hate that people do who talk on shows. They just want to let anyone just be a starter. And a lot of it, you have to earn it. Boogie Cousins at this point in his career, to me, is the best bargain in the NBA at $3.5 million. You got him on a one-year deal. He's a better center than JaVale McGee. Now, are we holding against him what happened in the playoffs? Obvious. But if he hadn't played, Nick, you pointed that out earlier, would we be saying this? Would we have been happy with the Boogie Cousins we saw who recovered from an Achilles
at the end
and
of the
what we saw to the end of the regular season? We've been like, yeah, we wouldn't even be questioning should he be the starter. I believe he makes a big comeback this season. His best basketball was played next to Anthony Davis that last year there in New Orleans. So I'm going to give him that. It's best for the Lakers that LeBron James is a point guard at this stage of his career. Now, what do they do from a defensive standpoint? Do they give these other players, Avery Bradley, a chance, beef up that second unit with Kuzma? But to me, this is a lot better basketball team than they had last year, and their bench will be so much stronger.
Oh, there's no question they're better than last year. But once again, as we've said since they missed out on Kawhi, for the Lakers to be in the discussion as a champion, as a Western Conference finalist, much less NBA finalist, much less champion, not only does Anthony Davis have to be the Anthony Davis we saw him be prior to last year, but LeBron has to have the best year 17 anyone's ever had in the history of the league. He's going to have to do it at different positions. He's going to have to do it in heavy minutes. He's going to have to do it playing 70-some games. I think he can do it. We'll see how it turns out.
We got to go. Undisputed starts right now. Have a good one, everyone.